He left no fingerprints, no witnesses, no trace of himself. But he forgot one thing. And that one thing was enough to catch him. I'm Evidence Clerk 011. I don't chase suspects. I don't interrogate. I just log what gets left behind. This file comes from a rural village in Shaanxi, China. That night, I was riding my motorcycle to see my girlfriend. The road was dark, so dark I couldn't even see what was in front of me. Then, a loud bang. I was thrown off the bike. When I finally got up, there was a man lying by the side of the road. I didn't call the police. I didn't help him. 2 hours later, he was dead. At 9:40 p.m. on October the 3rd, 2025, at the entrance of a village in Shaanxi, China, a local villager called the police and reported that a man was lying by the roadside. By the time the police arrived, the man was already in a deep coma. He appeared to be around 60 years old, face down, motionless. A large pool of blood surrounded his head. One shoe had been thrown far away. No one knew who he was, and no one knew what had happened to him. At first, even the police weren't sure. Maybe he had simply fallen, or maybe he had been hit by a vehicle. And then the forensic team found something. A long scrape mark on the asphalt, and fragments from a motorcycle reflector. That's when investigators realized this might be a hit and run. But the problem was there were no surveillance cameras, no witnesses, not even streetlights. It was complete darkness. The suspect had seemingly vanished. Soon, the victim was identified. His surname was Yuan. That night, he was simply heading back to his village to check on his old family house. Surveillance footage showed him clearly. At 6:43 p.m., he got off the bus. At 6:51 p.m., he was seen for the last time on camera. And then he disappeared. It wasn't until 2 hours later that someone finally found him lying by the roadside. During those 2 hours, no one stopped. No one called the police. No one knew whether he was still alive. The police began going through the surveillance footage frame by frame, and then, finally, they noticed something unusual. A black motorcycle. But something was strange. The black motorcycle had passed the area first. Yet it left the scene 5 minutes later than the other vehicle. The police began to suspect he may have stopped at the scene, and this man was very likely the hit-and-run driver. The next day, investigators returned to the scene and found something unusual. 3 teeth. What made it even more disturbing, the victim's teeth were completely intact, which meant these teeth did not belong to him. They belonged to someone else. The driver was injured too, and the injury wasn't minor. The police immediately checked the emergency rooms and found something unexpected. On the night of the incident, 4 patients came in with head injuries, but one of them stood out as suspicious. His name was Xiao Hua, alias. When he received a call from the police, he immediately hung up. The police traced him through hospital surveillance. They found the small hotel he had stayed at. And then, in a trash bin nearby, they discovered a black jacket he had thrown away. More critically, the damage on his motorcycle matched the fragments found at the scene exactly. The suspect said, "I didn't even know what I hit. My mind just went completely blank. Later, I realized there was a person lying beside the road." He said he was scared, afraid of being blamed, afraid of paying compensation, and most of all, afraid of going to prison. So he got back on his motorcycle and fled. And the old man lay there, alone, on the cold roadside, for a full 2 hours. The most tragic part of this case wasn't the collision, it was that he saw him and still chose to leave. If he had stopped that night, if he had called an ambulance, maybe things could have been different. Maybe there was still a chance. What he fled from wasn't just responsibility, it was someone else's chance to survive. What do you think? If it were you, would you have stopped to help?